My name is Elena. I am 26 years old. I live in Bucharest, the capital of Romania. I rent a small apartment near the city center. It has 2 rooms, a tiny kitchen, and a narrow balcony that looks over a noisy street. It is not perfect, but it feels like home. I moved here after university. I studied literature and wanted to become a writer. I dreamed of writing books, working in quiet cafes, and sharing stories with the world. But dreams don't always pay rent. After months of searching and getting no replies, I had to face the truth. I needed a job, any job. One day, I saw an ad for a job at a logistics company. The role was simple: send emails, answer calls, and check data. It wasn't what I wanted, but I needed money. I told myself I would stay for a few months, just enough time to save a little and look for something better. My first day at the office was quiet and tense. I wore a blue blouse that my mother gave me after graduation. It was the best thing I owned. I felt nervous but tried to look confident. The building was big and cold. People walked quickly and spoke softly. No one looked at me for long. They were all busy with their own work. My manager, Mr. Vasiliu, was tall and serious. He showed me to my desk in the corner. It was near a noisy printer that beeped every few minutes. He spoke fast, explaining my tasks. I nodded and took notes, but I felt lost. My hands shook under the table. I was afraid of doing something wrong. During the first week, I felt like a shadow. I said good morning and thank you, but no one really spoke to me. I ate lunch alone in the small kitchen. I scrolled through my phone just to look busy. I heard laughter from other rooms and felt left out. I began to wonder if I had made a mistake. Then something happened on Friday. I made an error in an email. I sent the wrong delivery details to a client. The package was sent to the wrong city. When my manager found out, he called me into his office. He did not yell, but his voice was sharp. "Elena, this mistake costs us money and time," he said. "You must be more careful." I said sorry again and again. My face felt hot. I returned to my desk and tried not to cry. That evening, I stayed late to fix the problem. I felt small and useless. As I packed my things, someone came over. It was Elena, a woman from the finance team. She looked around 40, with soft eyes and a calm voice. She handed me a piece of paper and smiled. "Don't worry. We all make mistakes," she said. On my second day, I sent a payment to the wrong company. It was a disaster. I smiled for the first time that week. Her words gave me comfort. The next Monday, Alina asked if I wanted to eat lunch with her. I said yes. Little by little, things started to change. People began to greet me in the morning. A man from IT helped me set up shortcuts on my computer. A woman from HR showed me where to find good coffee nearby. Slowly, I stopped feeling invisible. The job itself was not exciting. I worked with numbers, dates, and names I didn't know. But something inside me started to shift. I wanted to get better. I made a habit of arriving early. I double-checked every email before I sent it. I kept a notebook and wrote down every small detail I learned. After 2 months, my manager gave me a new task. I was to manage the delivery schedule for a client from Germany. It was more work and more stress. But I also felt trusted. For the first time, I felt like I mattered. I began staying after hours, even when no one asked me to. I wanted to understand everything. I studied old documents and asked questions. I practiced explaining the process to myself. I felt proud when I got things right. One afternoon, while printing a report, Alina walked by and looked at me. She raised her eyebrow and smiled. "You've changed," she said. "When you first came here, you looked like you wanted to run away." I laughed, but her words stayed in my mind. I thought about them on the bus ride home. Was I really changing? Or was I just getting used to something I never wanted? Then came the real test. A major client had a problem. Their order was delayed, and they were angry. My manager was in a meeting, and no one else was available. Someone had to call the client and explain. I felt my heart race when the task came to me. I sat at my desk, holding the phone. My hand shook as I pressed the number. The client was upset, and his voice was loud. But I listened carefully. I stayed calm. I explained the reason for the delay and offered a small discount. He paused. Then he agreed. After I hung up, the office was quiet. My manager looked at me and nodded. "Well done," he said. "You handled it well." That evening, I didn't go straight home. I walked through the city, past old buildings and small shops. The lights in the windows looked soft and warm. I thought about the past few months. I came to this job with no hope, just fear. I thought I would feel stuck forever, but I didn't feel stuck anymore. I felt strong. I felt useful. I wasn't sure if logistics was my future, but I was sure of one thing. I was no longer the same person who walked into that office on day one. I had changed. This job, the one I never wanted, had taught me more than I expected. Not just about work, but about myself. I had learned patience, focus, and how to speak up. I had learned to trust myself, even when I was afraid. And that, I realized, was more than I had hoped for. Before I share the rest of my story, could you please tell me where you're from? It gives me strength to know there's someone out there who listens to me, who understands me. It means a lot to me. After that phone call with the angry client, I felt something change inside me. I didn't panic like before. I stayed calm, listened carefully, and found a solution. It gave me a new kind of confidence. It wasn't loud or proud. It was quiet and steady, like a small fire that keeps burning even in the wind. In the next team meeting, I noticed people looking at me differently. My name was mentioned when the manager talked about good communication. I didn't say much in the meeting, but I sat up straighter. I felt like I belonged. A few days later, my manager gave me a new responsibility. A young intern named Irina had just joined our department. She was shy and very quiet, just like I had been. She didn't ask questions and looked nervous all the time. My task was to help train her. I was surprised, but also excited. It was the first time someone trusted me to guide someone else. Irina reminded me of myself during my first month. She apologized for every small mistake. She checked her emails 5 times before sending them. When she spilled her tea on her desk, she almost cried. I sat next to her and said, "It's okay. You're still learning. We all started like this." She looked at me and gave a small smile. Every day, I explained things to her in a simple way. I wrote down clear steps and told her not to be afraid of questions. Slowly, she began to open up. She asked things without fear. She even laughed at one of my silly jokes during lunch. One afternoon, she turned to me and said, "You're really patient. It makes everything less scary." Those words stayed with me. I had never thought of myself as patient, but maybe I was becoming someone different, someone better. Helping Irina made me realize how far I had come. I was no longer the scared new girl. I was someone who could help others grow. 2 weeks later, we had an emergency order from a client in France. Something had gone wrong in customs, and a package was stuck. Everyone was stressed. People ran around, making calls and checking documents. My manager asked me to handle the client communication. I took a deep breath and started calling. I spoke to the customs officer. I checked the order form, looked at the delivery code, and found the mistake. Then I called the client and explained everything. They were still upset but understood. In the end, the package was released. When I told the team, they clapped. I felt proud, but also surprised at how calm I had been. That night, I stayed in the office a bit longer. I sat at my desk and looked at the emails I had written, the reports I had finished, and the tasks I had completed. I realized something simple but important. I was good at this. Maybe not perfect, but I was learning fast. I was becoming reliable. Outside of work, my life was quiet. I still lived in the same apartment. I still made soup on Sundays and talked to my parents on the phone once a week. But inside, I felt stronger. I felt more sure of myself than ever before. One weekend, I cleaned out a drawer and found my old notebook, the one where I used to write stories during university. I flipped through the pages. Some were full of ideas. Others had half-finished stories. It felt like meeting an old friend. I missed that part of myself. The next Saturday, I took the notebook to a cafe near my building. I ordered a coffee and sat by the window. For the first time in months, I wrote. Not for work, not for a manager, just for me. It was only 1 page, but it felt like breathing again. I promised myself I would return every weekend to write, even just a little. Back at the office, my manager began giving me more tasks. I now handled 2 major clients, both from outside Romania, one from Spain and one from Germany. Their English was strong, so we communicated easily. At first, I worried I would make mistakes. But after a few weeks, I built a good rhythm. One day, the regional manager visited our office. She asked for a short report on client satisfaction. My manager said, "Elena can handle that." I worked late that evening to make sure the report was perfect. I double-checked every number, every sentence. The next morning, I gave it to her. She read it, nodded, and smiled. "Very clear and professional," she said. That simple comment stayed with me for days. I remembered how I used to doubt every word I wrote. Now someone with experience trusted my work. It felt real. Irina had grown a lot by this point. She worked independently and had even taken on a small project of her own. One afternoon, she gave me a small card that said, "Thank you for showing me how to believe in myself." I kept the card in my desk drawer and looked at it whenever I had a hard day. Months passed. I still woke up early, took the same tram, and sat at the same desk. But each day felt more purposeful. I started helping other new employees. I explained our systems, helped them with emails, and told them it was okay to make mistakes. I became someone people came to for advice. During one busy week, my manager asked me to lead the monthly team meeting. I had never done that before. I wrote notes and practiced what I would say. On the day of the meeting, my voice shook a little, but I spoke clearly. I talked about things we could improve and shared some ideas to make work easier. After the meeting, a few people came to thank me. One said, "You explained things better than our manager does." That comment made me laugh. I still had so much to learn, but it felt good to be seen. Later that month, the company announced a new role, Client Communication Coordinator. It was a big step up. I didn't think I had a chance, but several people told me to apply. I worked hard on my application. I wrote about my journey from intern to team helper. I talked about the systems I had improved and the people I had trained. 2 weeks later, I got the job. I was shocked at first. Then I cried. Not because I was afraid, but because I had finally accepted something about myself. I had become someone I respected. I had done it through hard work, long hours, and a lot of patience. The new role meant more meetings, more planning, and more speaking. I had to learn new tools and write monthly reports for upper management. It wasn't easy, but I felt ready. I made mistakes, of course, but I fixed them quickly and learned fast. People from other departments began calling me for help. I met managers from other cities and even traveled once to Cluj for a training session. It was my first work trip. I packed my best clothes and gave a short presentation to a group of 20 people. I was nervous, but I did it. They clapped at the end. Later, one woman came to me and said, "You have a gift for making things clear." That night, back in my hotel room, I sat by the window and looked out at the lights of the city. I thought about everything. About Bucharest, about Irina, about the mistake I made on my first week. I thought about the young girl who dreamed of writing but didn't believe in herself. I realized I still loved writing. that part of me never disappeared. But now, I had more to write about. Real stories, human moments, quiet courage. This job was never part of my plan, but it gave me something I didn't know I needed. It gave me a space to grow. It showed me who I was when no one was watching. It turned fear into focus and doubt into strength. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt like I had become someone I could truly be proud of. The weeks after my promotion moved quickly. Every day brought something new to handle. I had meetings, reports, and messages from different teams. I no longer had time to doubt myself. I had to act, make choices, and keep the team moving. It felt overwhelming at times, but it also felt right. One of my first big tasks was leading a new project. We needed to improve our client response time. Clients were waiting too long for answers, and some had complained. I brought the team together and asked for ideas. Some people stayed quiet. Others spoke up with energy. I listened carefully to everyone. We created a new system for handling emails. Every client had a clear point of contact. We tracked response times using a shared sheet. I trained the team on how to write clear, respectful replies. It took work, but after 1 month our numbers improved. The clients noticed. One of them even sent a thank you note. That small message meant a lot. It became clear to me that leadership was not about knowing everything. It was about helping others succeed. When someone made a mistake, I didn't get angry. I asked what went wrong and how we could fix it. That approach built trust. People started coming to me with problems instead of hiding them. One day, I had to give difficult feedback to a team member. His work was often late, and it affected the whole group. I invited him to talk privately. My heart was beating fast. I didn't want to hurt him, but I also needed to be honest. I spoke calmly and explained the situation. He listened, then nodded slowly. "You're right," he said. "I've been distracted. Thank you for telling me directly." That moment showed me the power of respectful honesty. I didn't need to be harsh to lead. I needed to be clear, kind, and steady. At the same time, I continued writing every weekend. The little cafe near my apartment became my favorite place. On Saturdays, I sat by the window with my notebook and a warm drink. I wrote about work, about people, about change. Sometimes I wrote stories. Other times, I just wrote what I was feeling. It helped me stay grounded. One Saturday, I shared a short story on a blog for young writers. It was about a girl who finds herself through a job she never wanted. It was simple, but honest. A few days later, someone left a comment. "This felt like my life." I smiled when I read that. I hadn't expected anyone to read it, but someone had. And they understood. That one comment gave me the courage to keep going. I kept posting one story each month. Slowly, more people started reading. Some wrote comments. Others shared the posts with friends. My words were reaching others. Not many, but enough to make it feel worth it. Back at work, my team grew. 2 more interns joined, and I was asked to train them. I used everything I had learned from helping Irina. I gave them time, space, and support. They made mistakes, of course, but they improved. I saw them grow with every passing week. Our department received praise during the next company meeting. The director mentioned our improved client communication. My name was shared with the whole company. It was a strange feeling. I still felt like the same girl who once cried after sending a wrong email. But now, I was leading others. I had built something from effort, not luck. My parents came to visit again. This time, I took them to the office. I showed them where I worked, introduced them to my manager, and shared what I had been doing. My mother looked around the office, then turned to me. "You've made a life here," she said, "and you've grown into it." That evening, we had dinner at my apartment. We laughed, shared stories, and listened to old songs on the radio. It was a simple night, but I felt full. Not with food, but with peace. Later that year, I was asked to join a leadership workshop. It was 3 days long and included people from other cities. I traveled to Brasov and stayed in a hotel with other young professionals. We learned about problem solving, time management, and team motivation. I met people who were also trying to grow in their roles. I felt part of something bigger. At the workshop, I shared my story with a small group. I told them how I started with fear and found my strength in daily tasks. One woman came up to me afterward and said, "I was thinking of quitting my job, but your story gave me hope." That meant everything to me. I returned to Bucharest feeling inspired. I brought new ideas to the office. I shared what I learned with my team. We started short weekly meetings to support each other. People shared small wins and challenges. It helped us feel more connected. Work became more than just tasks and reports. It became a place where people felt seen. That mattered to me. I remembered the early days of feeling invisible. I didn't want anyone else to feel that way. Not on my watch. One afternoon, Irina sent me a message. She had been accepted into a graduate program in the UK. She said she would miss the team but needed to follow her dream. I was proud of her, even though I knew we would miss her. She came to say goodbye in person. Before leaving, she handed me a small notebook. "I saw this and thought of you," she said. Inside was a message. "Thank you for being my first real mentor." I kept that notebook on my desk. It reminded me why I did what I did. Time passed, and I kept growing. I applied for a scholarship to attend a business course in Germany. It focused on leadership in international companies. I wrote a strong application sharing how I helped change our small office. A month later, I received an email. I had been accepted. I cried when I read it. Not because I was leaving, but because it felt like a step forward. I would go for 3 months. My manager supported the idea. He said, "You'll come back stronger." I believed him. As I packed my bags, I thought about my journey. I had started as a scared young woman who only wanted to pay her rent. I ended up becoming someone who led, taught, and inspired others. I didn't know what the future would bring. Maybe I would return and stay in the same role. Maybe I would find new doors opening. But whatever happened next, I knew one thing. I had changed. Not because of luck or one big moment, but because of many small, ordinary days where I chose to keep going. This office, this job I never wanted, had taught me who I could become. And for the first time in my life, I truly liked the woman I was becoming. I hope you have enjoyed the story. Like and comment if you want to hear more soon.